Welcome to Hungry Books. Please subscribe. Learn to make time for the important things in your life. Do you want to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, until you're 70 and almost too old to enjoy your hard-earned retirement? Or would you rather just work 4 hours a week, from anywhere in the world, and earn as much in a month as you currently do in a year? A subculture characterized by mobility and financial freedom, the new rich isn't limited by their work. Unlike the old rich, otherwise known as the landed gentry, who were often tied to a specific location by property and palaces, the new rich are wealthy jet-setters who are in total control of their time. They weren't born into money but achieved wealth by automating their income and developing a popular product. For the new rich, wealth means luxury in the here and now. Many people sacrifice their lives for the idea of retirement. They go to work every morning and toil behind a desk for 8 hours, dreaming of that far-off day when they'll have done their time and can finally kick back with a margarita on a sun-drenched beach. Instead of living an enjoyable life, he deferred, suffering through 30 years of hateful employment so that he could live like a big shot. But here's the thing. One doesn't have to be a millionaire in order to live like one. The new rich, have realized that the right moment to realize one's dreams is now. They know that the things most people associate with millionaires, extensive travels, extravagant hobbies, maybe a butler, essentially add up to two things: more freedom and more free time. Yet it's possible to have those things without a $1 million bank account. In fact, both can be attained with relative ease. Flexibility and mobility are crucial to a life of luxury. They're the prerequisites for the ability to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, and neither can be achieved by working a standard 40-hour week. Define your own rules and throw negative beliefs overboard. The NEAR rejects the conventions of the working world. Instead of toiling away in an office, they increase the money they make and reduce the hours they work by using the DEAL formula, which stands for Definition, Elimination, Automation, Liberation. First, to join the NEAR, you've got to redefine your approach to work. This means giving a new definition to your goals. In all likelihood, your current goals are more closely aligned with common deferrer goals, but if you want to join the NEAR, you'll have to change this. Let's start with retirement. For most, retirement is the light at the end of the tunnel, the promised day of freedom. The NEAR rejects this idea. Instead, they switch between intense phases of work and mini-retirements, brief vacations, between 2 weeks and 2 months long, during which they either completely relax or do something fun, such as learning how to fence. Another mistake deferrers make when setting goals is that they start small, instead of setting big, unrealistic goals. Since everyone starts small, the competition is fiercest at ground level. Up at the top, however, it's sparsely populated, few people dare to think big, which is why it's sometimes easier to achieve the unrealistic than the realistic. Don't wait for the perfect moment to quit your job and join the ranks of the NEAR, it will never come. To wait is to fear taking a leap into the unknown, to be afraid of the seemingly impossible. But if you want to live the unhindered lifestyle of a millionaire, you'll have to trust yourself and take the plunge. When it comes to true productivity, less is more. Vilfredo Pareto noticed something about 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the population, the same 20% who owned about 80% of the country's wealth. What does this have to do with you? Well, if you're anything like the author once was, then roughly 80% of your work output results from a mere 20% of your effort. This fact is hidden by the standard 8-hour workday. Most employees have to work for 8 hours, and so, instead of focusing on productivity, they emphasize activity. They organize their inbox, they futz around with their phone, they walk self-importantly from cubicle to cubicle. And the person who looks the busiest often gets the raise because, at most companies, time spent at work is the only yardstick for performance. But about 80% of this daily bustle is virtually useless. In general, people favor efficiency, that is, the most economical completion of all work, no matter how unimportant, over effectivity, the efficient completion of crucial tasks. A door-to-door salesman may be efficient, but he'll never be effective. He could be peddling his wares by other means, such as mail or email, and focusing on other, more important tasks. Keep in mind that spending a lot of time on work doesn't necessarily mean that you are addressing the right tasks, nor that you are doing them well. Quite the contrary, as Parkinson's law teaches us, the more time we have to complete a task, the more time we'll spend on it. So, if we have an hour to turn in our project's final report, we'll finish it in an hour. If we have the entire afternoon, it will take 4 hours. The near pinpoint and prioritize the 20% of tasks that will yield 80% of results, and they complete these tasks in as little time as possible. This way, they maximize effectivity, reduce useless activity and, more often than not, increase revenue to boot. Save time by going on an information diet and eliminating interruptions. After you've applied the Pareto principle and started focusing on that crucial 20% of tasks, it's time to move to the next part of the deal formula, elimination. One way to narrow things down is to weigh the importance of each activity by asking yourself, would I be happy if this task ends up being the only one I complete today? This will help you eliminate time-consuming interruptions that prevent you from completing a task without pause. Perhaps the most costly kind of interruptions is time wasters or tasks that you can ignore without negative ramifications. The most common ones are surfing the web, responding to unimportant emails and conducting phone calls and meetings. In the same spirit, business-related conversations shouldn't deteriorate into pointless blathering, rather, they should turn, as quickly as possible, to the subject at hand. To do this, it helps to replace, "How are you doing?" with, "What can I do for you?" or to open a conversation with, "Unfortunately, I only have 2 minutes to spare." Another way to prioritize crucial tasks is to go on a strict information diet. Consuming media can be extremely distracting, so try practicing selective ignorance, that is, not consuming any information that doesn't pertain to your work or well-being. The best way to start is to go on a week-long media fast, during which you read absolutely no newspapers or magazines, and also abstain from surfing the internet. Instead, have a well-informed coworker give you a 5-minute briefing on world events during your lunch break or, come evening, ask your partner to fill you in on the day's news. You also don't need to read every book on specialized subjects. Rather, seek out an expert who can present complex content in the course of a short workshop and answer your questions quickly. That'll save a lot of time and also give you better results because the knowledge will be distilled and presented concisely. Being productive entails self-discipline and controlling your environment. How do you start your typical workday? If you're anything like most people, you probably check your inbox. As it turns out, this is actually a big mistake, because most emails are time wasters. So what should you do instead? As you've learned, being productive means doing as much as possible in as little time as possible, and only tackling projects that are important, that is, projects that bring you closer to your personal goals. After eliminating all time wasters, you should only be left with tasks that fulfill this criterion. And, of course, because they're so important, these tasks should get top priority. You should turn to them first thing every morning, without even glancing at your email. On an ideal workday, all the important tasks should be finished before midday. A good way to start weaning yourself off an email is to read and answer messages twice a day, once in the afternoon and once in the evening. If you manage that, try to go a step or two further and you may soon find yourself only dealing with emails once a week. Inform your friends, family and co-workers about this new habit by setting up an auto-response explaining that you're limiting the time you spend on email in order to serve them better and that it may be a while before you respond. Those around you will adapt and learn that most messages can simply wait in your email inbox or your voicemail while you tackle truly important things. Genuinely urgent requests can always be conveyed on the phone or in a face-to-face conversation. By letting many small questions and tasks accumulate in your inbox, you'll be able to deal with them all at once, which will both save you time and liberate you from the interruptions that interfere with more important work. Okay, now you know how to work more productively. But this doesn't exactly add up to a 4-hour workweek yet. If you want your daily routine to include more lounging in a hammock on a remote island, cocktail in hand, then you'll also have to free yourself from the location your work binds you to. Read on to find out how. Regular office employees can also live the new rich lifestyle. So you've applied half of the deal formula to your work life, you've defined your goals and eliminated time-consuming activities. But if you're an employee, you can't jump straight to automation, rather, you have to liberate yourself from the office first, so that the formula becomes dealer. Here's why. By defining your goals and eliminating all interruptions, you'll greatly increase your effectivity, to the point where you may be able to accomplish in 10 hours what your coworkers get done in 40. But remember, most workplaces encourage activity, not effectivity, which means that no matter how little time it takes you to complete your work, you'll always have to put in 40 hours per week. The solution is to escape the office. Not only will this allow you to work less, it'll enable you to work from anywhere you want. There are 5 steps to vanishing from the office. 1. Increase your value to the company. 2. Prove increased output when working remotely. 3. Quantify the business benefit. 4. Propose a trial period. 5. Build a business that functions on autopilot without any work on your part. It's finally time to discuss automation, the A from the deal formula, which is crucial if you wish to decouple the time you spend working from the money you make. By establishing automated sources of income that can be maintained from anywhere in the world, you, just like today's new rich, can lead whatever kind of life you desire, because you'll generate income without spending all your time at work. Now, if you want to establish an automated revenue stream, you've got to create a business that works without any effort on your part, that is, it should basically run itself. For instance, instead of personally managing the distribution of your product, partner with a company that can do it and hires an agency to maintain your website so you don't have to. You personally should barely play any part in this setup, rather, you should aim to read the reports of your service providers and step in only when necessary. So how can you ensure that work runs smoothly in your absence? First, everyone involved should have the freedom to communicate independently with one another, so that you don't need to relay messages. Second, you should give as much responsibility as possible to those you've entrusted with your tasks. This way, people can solve problems without needing your input or approval, which will save you tons of time and give you far more freedom. But who exactly should be doing all this work? One option is to hire virtual assistants or VAS. You can contract VAS from almost anywhere, from Canada to India, and who you choose depends entirely on your needs. And if you're worried about the cost, remember to factor in the value of the time you save. Let's say you currently earn $25 per hour, while such an assistant would probably cost around $30 per hour. This means that for every hour of work the assistant takes over, the effective cost to you is just $5, meaning that you could take an entire Friday off for a cost of just $40. That doesn't sound too bad, does it? Finding a suitable VA is largely a matter of trial and error, so be sure to ask other people about their experiences and don't get discouraged if your first one isn't a perfect fit. Ideal VAS do exist and finding them is well worth the effort. You need a muse for your automated income. Of course, if you want to create an automated income stream and construct the architecture to support it, you've got to have a product to sell. This could, for example, be an existing product that you decide to redistribute. The only problem with this approach is that reselling an existing product comes with smaller profit margins. So it's better to design your own product, something that will bring in as much money as possible with minimal effort from you. To get started, look at the markets you're most familiar with and brainstorm product ideas based on your findings. To differentiate your business from a classic startup, which isn't what you're trying to create, let's call your best idea your muse. Unlike a startup, your muse doesn't have to be run by you. After all, you don't really want to be an entrepreneur, because you're not looking to spend all your time on strategy meetings, leadership and management. Look for your muse in a niche that doesn't require you to invest much time or money up front to get started. On a practical note, no matter what your muse looks like, it's important that you outperform the competition and demonstrate to prospective customers that you're the best person to buy from. This can be done by attaining indicators of credibility, such as a PhD. Alternatively, you can use other means to establish your expertise, for instance, by attending seminars and conducting thorough research with the help of relevant textbooks and websites. It doesn't take a degree in fashion design to create a funny t-shirt, all you need is more expertise than your potential customers. Test the market before making your product. There's only one way to know whether your product is likely to succeed: you have to ask people to buy it. Offer the hypothetical product to actual customers and see how they react. Now that you've confirmed that there's a demand for your product, there are a few things to keep in mind when designing it to help make it successful. First, you should be able to summarize the product's purpose in one sentence. Attract the right customers. You should give your product a high price point, somewhere between $50 and $200. This will not only give your product a premium image, it'll also increase your profit margins and decrease the likelihood of complaints. After all, anyone prepared to pay such a high price will be less likely to complain if the product doesn't live up to expectations, because they'll likely have money to spare and usually can't be bothered to make a fuss about small problems. And finally, your product should make a big promise and deliver on it. Such bold promises show your customers how serious you are about your product and give them the added confidence they need to make a purchase. The question you should be asking isn't, "What do I want?" or "What are my goals?" but "What would excite me?" You'll be well on your way to the lifestyle you've always desired. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.